Liverpool's forward line hit the ground running in the first outing of their pre-season campaign. Darwin, Cody and Diogo were all on target. The new boys caught the eye as well as they got their first run out for the Reds. As today's game is being played behind closed doors, the MS Technology Arena in Villingen-Schwenningen will be a much more subdued setting than the boisterous backdrop of Karlsruhe last week. It's Greuther Furth versus Liverpool this lunchtime. It's a noon kickoff, and this is the second game of 5 warm-up matches before the Premier League kickoff. LFC TV and LFC TV Go are the only places you can watch each of them live. Welcome along to Matchday Live. Joining me in the studio, reunited once again, our best of friends, Gary Gillespie and Jason McAteer. It is lovely to see you both. We'll find out over the course of the next few hours. Gentlemen, good to see you. I hope you've had a good summer thus far. Gary, it is the second game of this pre-season campaign. What do you hope to see more of or different from the first game to this?
I think it'll be pretty similar, to be honest with you. I think the manager was more than happy with the way the first game went. I think when you look at these games, you're looking for obviously being positive in attack and sound in defence. Second goal was a little bit of a mishap, I think, down that left-hand side. We got caught a little bit outnumbered and a little bit exposed. That'll be a little bit of concern. But I thought in general, the counter-pressing was good. I think everybody involved with obviously the new guys. McAllister played his part when he came on. Bosley, I thought kind of coasted through the game, to be quite honest with you. Didn't really do anything spectacular, but was very, very good in possession of the football. So all in all, I think it was quite a good first game. I think a little bit more intense maybe as the games go along and build it up that intensity. But overall, I think if you can match what they did in that first game against Karlsruhe, I think the manager will be more than happy. Do
you get a sense, even in these early stages, Gary, that we're going to be perhaps a bit more offensive moving forward? They seem a bit more attack-minded, the players he's brought in, but also the way they've pushed further up the field.
Well, I think when you look at the likes, so you've got Gakpo, you've got Jota, you've got Darwin Núñez, you've obviously got Mohamed Salah. It'll be interesting to see where McAllister plays. I think from what I saw when he came on, he kind of played in that Bobby Firmino role, kind of false number 9. Now, whether that happens throughout the course of the season or not, I'm not 100% sure. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where he plays. Definitely when he was in possession in the final third, he was a threat. He played some neat little 1-2s. I think he made the pass, for the third goal or something like that. Really intelligent pass. And he looked very dangerous in these little pockets of space. And that was something that maybe was lacking with the likes of Jordan Henderson and maybe the likes of Fabinho, who maybe played that a little bit deeper. So I think all in all, a little bit more attack-minded, a little bit more of a threat in the final third. And then when you put put into the equation the likes of Jota, the likes of Darwin Núñez, the likes of Gakpo, the likes of Mohamed Salah, then it looks very much a case of when going forward, Liverpool got certainly a great deal of firepower.
We should also mention is, as always is the case in pre-season, players come back at different stages. He's now got Harvey, Elliott and Curtis Jones to throw into the equation, both coming into this off success with England League Goals. Curtis Jones, excellent tournaments for him. Yeah. Other options to look at in pre-season, other players to stake a claim and say, look, you know what, don't forget about me.
Yeah, congratulations to the two of them. I mean, it's some achievement Lee Carsley and the boys achieved there in European Championships to go on and win it, and obviously Curtis Jones played a big part, I think, scoring the winner in the final. So yeah, great, and just to have that experience of winning something at that level for the two of them is great experience. But yeah, they come back into the fold. It's still early days, so they'll be managed. You know, their minutes I'm sure will be short until they probably get away when they go to Singapore, and they've got a couple of games there. I think we've seen more of them there. But yeah, at this stage of the season, or this stage of pre-season, it's all about fitness, getting that in the bank, staying away from injuries and just rotating the squad, so everyone sort of getting a bit of a run out second game in.
Okay, we'll pause things just there and get the details of the starting lineup for today's game. And as always, we're on the ground with Liverpool during pre-season. Peter McDowell has made the trip on this occasion. He can give us now Liverpool's starting 11 for the game today.
And this is where the German camp ends for Liverpool. They're at the home of Villigan today. It's about 20 minutes away from where the camp has been set up and where the players have been set. But this is where Greuther Furth will borrow this ground today. They're a German Bundesliga 2 team. And Liverpool really pleased with how this camp has gone so far. The manager pleased that he has a couple of options extra available to him today in the form of Harvey, Elliott and Curtis Jones, who did ever so well with the England team in England under-21s duty. So they join this squad today and they will play in the second half. But the back four, the same as the other day, and Alisson returns in goal as well. Let me just confirm that 11 for you then for Liverpool. So Conor Bradley continues in that right back position. Konate and Van Dijk, the two centre-backs. Robertson at left-back, of course. Gakpo might be asked to play inside that midfield today. And Trent Alexander-Arnold in the 6th position where he played again the other day. And Alexis McAllister also. Ben Doak gets a start in the top 3, Jota in the 9 position, and Diaz in that familiar territory over on the left-hand side as well. Dominic Szoboszlai left out of this one as a precaution, but indications are that he will be fine to resume that training in Singapore as well. And also a nice moment for Lewis Koumas, who's due set to start that second half. Really impressed on this training camp so far, and he will be in the 11, as will Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott in that second half too.
Thanks, Pete. Well, attacking options, that was something we outlined at the top of the show, I think underlined by that team selection guy. But also, I guess, the question that comes from that is who plays where, because Pete's given it one way, it could quite conceivably be 3 or 4 other different ways. How do you see that top end of the field looking when the game gets underway?
Well, we've got it, I think Jason will be more than happy because he likes that 4-2-3-1 formation that he keeps banging on about. Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Second game of pre-season, it's already begun.
Trent Alexander-Arnold will definitely play as a holding midfield player. And again, I kind of emphasised it like earlier on, like where McAllister plays. I think that is like the conundrum that he has at this moment in time. I forgot to mention Luis Diaz as well. Like he's another that comes into the equation, obviously, with the forward players. Jota, I think, is naturally the one that you would think out of that starting 11 to play in the number, like the centre forward role as the main attacker. Gakpo, I think, when he came on, looked very, very good. I think we saw last season when he was in these little pockets of space on the half turn, when he can get running at defenders, I think he makes things happen. And it's interesting that, like, obviously no Mohamed Salah, and young Ben Doak comes in and has an opportunity down that right hand side.
Do you think, as it stands now, Jason, Jurgen knows the team he'll start on the opening day, or do you think perhaps this season more than most, he's looking and saying, I'm not too sure what I'll do yet?
He'll know the majority of the team he'll want to start against Chelsea. I think there's some positions up for grabs. Some players will obviously get the opportunity, the next 3 or 4 games of pre-season to try and impress them and get into the team. I think what is sticking out for me is how strong he's gone in the last 2 games. Usually on early games in pre-season, there's usually a lot of younger players playing in, a lot more kids. I think what he's doing, obviously Jota injured for a big part of last season. Luis Diaz was injured. We've got a new look midfield. I think he's trying to hone in early doors and really use this pre-season to get everything sorted. So we are ready for Chelsea and everyone knows what they're doing. I think there's been a tweak in the way we play as well. Obviously we're seeing Trent Alexander-Arnold predominantly play on the right as a right back, pushed into that midfield area to make, we see it with Manchester City, and Arsenal did it as well. He pushes inside and we play with that back 3. I think he's going to go with that this season. I think the last 11 games just proved how well it worked. I think Trent was absolutely fantastic for them 11 games. And he really shone, and it really worked. But to answer your question, I do think there are places up for grabs. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 places there that, there's quite a few players that will be looking to take that place.
Yeah, I think he's back 4 and the goalkeeper, I think, are like the positions where he's probably like they're nailed sorted, on. Yeah. But other than that, I think, as Jason rightly says, I think there's a few up for grab.
But from what you're saying, you don't expect Trent to start in a central role like he has done in this game, as he did in the last game, and as he did for England. You think he'll play essentially from the right-hand side?
Did I say that? No.
Do you think that?
No, I think he'll start in a central position, which gives like the opportunity for the likes of young Conor Bradley or Joe Gomez to play in right back.
Well, but then Jason just said his back 4 and back 5 is the ones that set. But you're saying now actually there's a contrast. You think Trent will
Well,
play.
there's
But you
always a
think he'll play.
contradiction
Yeah,
with
exactly. I know.
that.
But you think Trent will stay off the right and come in, and you think he will start centrally.
I personally think. I know we're not meant to talk about it, but I'm going to mention it. Fabinho and Henderson, I think, will play a big part in what happens with Trent. I think if we lose them two, obviously he's going to have to go into the transfer market and bring someone in. If he gets the players he wants, in that case, then maybe Trent will start on the right and drift into that midfield area as we've seen in the latter stages of last season. If that doesn't happen, I think the door's wide open for him to start in that midfield and someone else take that right back position. But it suits him. It suits him.
I do agree with that.
But so to a degree, I know pre-season is always an element of experimentation, but perhaps this season more than most, to what happens on that right-hand side if he ends up shifting Trent in. What happens? We'll speak in detail about Conor Bradley later in the programme. We hear from him. It sounds like there's an opportunity for someone to shift in there, whether it's him, whether it's Joe Gomez, because that may get freed up.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think it does rely on the fact that who comes in and who goes. But I think when I watch the game, there's no better central midfield player with distribution than Trent Alexander-Arnold. So I think it's just a natural fit that he would start in there. I'm always a little bit concerned if you have a right full-back that ends up being a central midfield player from the right-back position, then I do think that it gives your right centre-back quite a bit of ground to cover. And I know Konate is quite an athlete and can probably manage that, but at times I just think that leaves you a little bit too exposed. The fact that Mohamed Salah, if he's like in front of you as well, he's not going to defend an awful lot, Mohamed Salah, I don't think, from what I've seen from last season. So I think we can maybe get exposed a little bit in these areas of the pitch.
I agree with you in that sense, but it worked so well, didn't it?
It did work. I mean, in certain games it might be the case where he does that. I think when you're in domination of like the ball, when you're in domination of possession, then it might be a case where like maybe Trent starts in the right back position and drifts into that central midfield area. But I was always a little bit reluctant to move Trent from the right back position to be a central midfield player. He actually started his career there when I was watching him like in the youth team, and he's a totally different player now. His vision, his awareness, and his ability to make a pass and break the lines, we've not seen that from the likes of Jordan Henderson. We've not seen that from the likes of Fabinho. Thiago, to a certain extent, does that. I think Konate sometimes, and certainly Matip when he's playing centre back, breaks the lines with passes, but Trent does it from a further forward position, which I think brings the likes of like our front players a lot more into the game and can be a lot more of a threat.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore how well he played for England centrally as well. He was absolutely fabulous across those couple of games. One player who has been brought in that central area, we touched on earlier in the show, is Alexis McAllister, a signing that just makes total sense.
Yeah, double figures for goals last season. Obviously a World Cup winner as well, bags of experience in the Premier League, and for the price tag I think he could be one of the signings of the season. Like Gary said, he played when he came on just in that little area, in that little pocket there where he just plays 1-2, and it has got shades of Firmino, hasn't it? The way he plays, little one touch, give and goes. His vision is really good, he can carry the ball, and like I say, he chips in with goals, double figures for Brighton last season. So yeah, fantastic signing.
Yeah. From what I've seen, that's his position for me, in positions like that, and that's these sort of areas. I don't see him as a right-sided midfield player or a number 6 or a number 8. I see him as a false number 9. To be quite honest with you, I don't think when I say he's not got the legs or the industry to get about in the middle of the park to be a number 8 or a number 6. It's maybe a little bit harsh on him. But I think he'd be far more effective in these sort of positions here, where he's got that ability to pick a pass, give a little 1-2, and this is like fantastic. The weight of the pass here, just on the wrong side of the defender, sets up Jota, and Jota's a willing runner, and he can pick him out, and then the ball ends up in the back of the net. I think that's his best position.
I'd like to see 3 players ahead of him, to be honest, to give him them options. I think in that midfield area, I think Jurgen, when he first comes to the club, obviously it was 3 very industrious players playing there when Gini Wijnaldum was there, and was it Milner and Henderson, the kind of not a lot of guile and quality of passing, but the industry and the work rate was phenomenal to win the ball back, to give it to the three front players, and it worked so well. He went away from that and then tried to get that extra attacker into the team and play with two defensive players, which was usually Fabinho and Milner or Fabinho and Henderson. And then the likes of Curtis Jones got in the team. We've seen Thiago come into the team as well. So we wanted a bit more guile in that little area, and I think he suits that perfectly well. I think to get three players ahead of him, I think gives him so many more options. He'll play just tucked in behind the front three, and then you'll have two defensive midfield, whether Trent comes in off the right and Fabinho, if he stays there, or whoever it may be. But I think there's so many different options now. He's given himself the manager. It's mouth-watering.
Gary's face tells me he wants to come back in, but hold your thoughts for a moment, Gary. We will debate this throughout pre-season, I am sure. We'll stop for a second and get a verdict from one of the players who's in line to start today. Peterson speaking with Conor Bradley now.
Well, Conor, this is another game where you get to show the progression. The manager's obviously given you instructions on what he would like to see improve today. What is that?
Just he wants us to play forward a bit more. He wants us to be a bit more risk-taking and stuff like that. So, but no, we're all looking forward to the game. It's another chance to play better and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're all looking forward to it.
And another start in your favoured position in what looks like a first choice back four. It's another great opportunity for you.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I'm looking forward to it. Pre-season's been really good so far. It's been tough, but it's been really good. And yeah, it's nice to be starting again today, and hopefully I can do well.
You mentioned the other day that this is a learning experience to be around the likes of Trent and Robbo, asking them questions. Has all that played a big part in this week for you as well?
Yeah, definitely. Asking people like Trent and stuff how he does it. Obviously, it's different for me playing the inverted role and stepping into midfield and stuff like that. It's the first time I've done it, so having Trent there is obviously a great help, and obviously the coaching staff too. Just try to take as much information as I can.
And obviously getting to know the lads again after the season that you spent away on loan. There's been some team building things going on this week. Why has that been important? Things like raft building and you spending together time as a team?
Yeah, it's majorly important for us to get closer as a team because we want it to be a successful season. But yeah, it's been a good week. It's been good enjoyment, and yeah, it's been really good.
Good luck, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, pal.
If only we had someone on the panel who knows what it's like to play right back at Bolton Wanderers for many a
I've
time.
not really signed anybody from Bolton that's been any good.
No, that's true. So that's true. It's not a pathway that's been well trodden. But anyway, on a serious note, great season for Conor last season. Over 40 appearances for Bolton. Won all the Player of the Year gongs. He won the Papa John's Trophy as well. He's moved further forward in Northern Ireland, a regular international for them at a young age. How much potential does he have, Jason? How big is this pre-season for him, given what we spoke about earlier?
Yeah, well, a few players now go out on loan, don't they, and seem to do well. Blackburn, Bolton, stay local, which is really good for them. But then to get games, it's all about game time. There's no point now because there's no reserves, is there? So it's just very difficult to get full on match tempo, match time, as it were. So to go out on loan is the perfect thing now. But then to win things and to have success is really good for the sort of evolving as players, really. Yeah, he's going to come back. It's going to be very difficult, though, to break into, obviously, Liverpool's team. But obviously the bench now carries so many players. He might get a few appearances here and there in cup games. But yeah, it's just difficult, isn't it, when you taste it and you go out on loan. You want to do it again. And I don't know whether there'll come a time when he's probably going to knock on the manager's door and probably say, can I go back out? It's just difficult.
Well, to be honest with you, it's just too early to tell how he's developed, like with that year at Bolton. Listen, like when you look at like the performances he's put off at Bolton, it's fantastic, isn't it? But then it's a big step up to come to Liverpool, back to his parent club and start again and be a figure in that right back position in the Premier League. But that's not to say that's impossible, because like we've seen it done before. I mean, Trent came in as a young player and ended up playing there. So the possibility is definitely there for him. It's whether he's ready or not, and you can only find out if he's ready or not by playing him.
But the things in his favour are the fact that at the moment there's maybe a question mark at who plays there if Trent does not. If you consider that Joe's maybe more of a centre half,
yeah.
So he's got an opportunity, if we call it that. It might not be given that he will play there, but he's got an opportunity to say to the man, you know what, I could be an option for you if you want to play Trent.
Well, that's it. I mean, he's got the opportunity, and I'm sure he'll get it in certain games, whether that's League Cup games or FA Cup early rounds. You know, that remains to be seen. But yeah, the opportunity will be there. But it's like Gary said. I mean, the step up to go from Bolton and then to play in Liverpool's first team, you know, when...
I think what you've got to say is the fact that, like, when he went to Bolton, he's probably looked at, like, the first team opportunities, and he's thinking, like, well, I've got Trent Alexander ahead of me, I've got Andrew Robertson in the left-back position.
Milner can come in.
James Milner can come in.
They just signed Calvin Ramsey as well.
The chances are, like, slim. But now the door's open, it's up to him to, like, obviously step through it.
Yeah. What I would say as well, though, the type of fullback he is, Jason, suits the way this team plays. He's very offensive. He had a good goal return for Bolton during his loan spell. He gets forward up and down that flank. So it suits these. Not like he wants to stay back. He suits the way this team plays, potentially.
No, he's an aggressive fullback, which is what you have to be in the modern game, and that's how the manager plays. I mean, we've seen it, you know, under Jurgen Klopp, that the two fullbacks play more as wingers now, don't they? And you know, the cover's done by the centre half. So yeah, he's got all the attributes, but like we keep saying, it's pre-season. He's going to get an opportunity, but how he evolves, he can't all of a sudden come to a standstill. For me, I know what you're saying, Trent, and if he gets injured and stuff, but I just don't know. I think you've got to play. You've got to keep playing until you're ready. I think we've seen it with Harvey. Elliott was probably the prime example. You know, he came in, he was dripped in and out, wasn't he, the first team? Then he went on loan to Blackburn, and he come back virtually ready. And that's when the manager then gave him a proper opportunity, and he took it. You know, for him, I don't know whether he's just not at that level yet. He's got to go back out, get some more games under his belt. Maybe a
championship team.
Yeah, and then come back and go, right, I'm ready now to step in if I'm needed, and then take the opportunity and stay in the team.
That's it. He does have another chance to impress today. OK, as we touched on, Wednesday evening gave fans the chance to see our two new signings run out in a Liverpool shirt for the first time. And the first 90 minutes of pre-season ended with a 4-2 win. It was a win that included 2 goals in 2 minutes for Diogo Jota. Here's the best of the action against Karlsruhe.
Well, whether it's your first game or your 1000th game, there are bound to be a few butterflies down there as the players make their way out for the first time ahead of the 2023-24 football season. And it's Darwin Núñez who looks in and behind. Salah, who's behind him. Núñez will get another go and will score. Appeals are there for offside, there's no flag coming, and Liverpool are off to an absolute flyer. Alexander-Arnold deep, and the header will go straight in, and the referee's going to disallow that as Virgil van Dijk walks away smiling. And by Junk again, and Stindl, and Kelleher as well. Heiser stands over it, delivered by Nebo, and the volley is hit absolutely brilliantly. Nice take by Stindl. Helps the ball on for Sebastian Young. It's opening up for Sebastian Young, who strikes home brilliantly. Nothing at all that Jarosz could do in the Liverpool goal. Decent ball, knocked down is good, and the finish is very, very tidy from Cody Gakpo. Beautiful little turn and strike, and Liverpool back on turn. That's Gakpo, it's a lovely ball, Diogo Jota. And Liverpool are lucky to win it, and do win it. It's beautifully finished, made by Cody Gakpo, and Jota dances his way through. Well, it's not the be-all and end-all winning, but it certainly feels nice, and they could wrap it up in style here, which they do. McAllister to Jota, who scored 2 in a minute, and now Liverpool have 4.
The workout was good, obviously. You could see it was intense for the boys.
Very proud moment for me and for my family as well. I think we did everything what is possible. Good first game. Now concentrating on the second one.
Goals obviously help. The team feels more confident. The players that score like me even more, and that's what pre-season is about. Build that confidence, build that fitness into the season.
Nobody injured. 45 minutes, everybody in his legs. Let's keep going.
Yeah, plenty of things to like from within that first round. Good tempo to it, I thought. Good attacking intent at times. One of the things that really caught my eye, especially in that second half, was just the fact we have Diogo Jota back, and a reminder of what we missed for a big chunk of last season. That goal threat, that energy up the top as well. We saw it, the fabulous finishes from him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a very strong team, and I just think, listen, this is the first season since COVID where it's just going to run normal. I mean, we're not going to have a World Cup smack bang into the middle of it. I think obviously the disappointment of last season, the manager wanted to put it to bed. We've had to do a bit of surgery in that midfield area. We've brought in players. We've had players who were injured that we thought would feature more last season that didn't. And I think players are still learning the Jurgen Klopp way. And I think this pre-season, the manager has come back, obviously with big optimism, a renewed vigour for getting it right. And he wants everyone singing on the same song sheet. And when we went away pre-season last year, we were in Singapore. I remember them after training, they worked with Darwin Núñez for another hour on the training pitch after everyone had finished. You know, they just worked and worked and worked about where he needed to be, where the ball was, where he needed to be, where certain players were. And there's a philosophy to the way they play. He doesn't just make it up as they go along. They all need to know their job. And I just look at the team that started the first game and look at this. I just think he's come back, and it's like, we're going to do it from the get-go. From the minute we start pre-season, I'm going to drill it into this set of players. And we're going to start the season all knowing our jobs. And I just think I look at the team there, it's really, really strong. And yet it was a good performance, but I just think that's the plan this pre-season. I don't think there's any let up for anyone. I just think it's going to be hard graft.
We saw that, Darwin get on the score sheet. We saw, as I mentioned, Jota make an impact. So Luis Diaz be lively. Having all these players fit, available, and with more experience of playing for Liverpool under the belts, in Darwin's case, gives the manager a far better footing this season, providing everyone stays fit and well.
Well, he's got a better base to work with. I mean, I think a key factor, like why we struggled or how we struggled last year, was the fact we had no Diaz for long spells of the season, no Jota for long spells of the season. Gakpo came in mid-season, found it a little bit difficult early on because the team was struggling a little bit, but I think you can see his worth now, like where his value is. And I think all round, if we can keep everybody as fit as possibly can, with that like attacking threat that we've got, then I think we'll be right back to our best come the start of the season. Not an easy start to the season as well, it has to be said as well, going away to Chelsea. I think we play Bournemouth in the home game, and then Newcastle comes up pretty soon after that. So it's not going to be an easy start. But I do think if everybody's fit, I would like still to see maybe one or two extra players coming in, depending obviously what happens with like the outgoings. And then I think we'll be ready and we'll be strong, and I think we'll be back to challenging for the top spot. No
coincidence we saw in those final couple of months of the season we had bodies back, the likes of Jota coming in, he scored like 7 goals in effectively the last month and a half of the season. Liverpool were better, the results were better. It's common sense, but you have your better players available, you get better results by and large. Funny enough, in this game, arguably the best goal wasn't scored by Liverpool. It was scored by Karlsruhe. Lars Stindl's strike, he actually played really well and was involved quite a lot with it. It's just an absolute belter.
It's a great strike, isn't it? Straight off the training ground, but then you've got to get the technique right. He's been around a while, Lars Stindl, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
He's had a really good career.
I mean, he's 34, he's just come back to Karlsruhe, and I think the one thing that you maybe say that Liverpool were like suckered in a little bit all into the 6-yard box when you see it, nobody really picking him up at the edge of the 18-yard box, but he's still got to make the strike. And this one, I just think that Tsimikas had obviously been instructed to go into that midfield area as similar to like maybe what Trent Alexander-Arnold does on the right-hand side. Maybe just went in there, vacated that left-back position a little bit too early, and left the other back three a little bit exposed. Kwanzaa, I think, couldn't get back there and cover. So that was a little bit of a concern. But that's what happens in pre-season. You've got time to work on it.
On that, the full-backs coming in, do you think that's going to be more of a trend? We've seen City do it, bring them inside, invert them. We saw Ange Postecoglou's done it. He's going to do it at Spurs again. Do you think that'll be something we will do more, rather than just having Trent come in? Yeah. Both full-backs will play more, and the width will come from the forward players.
No, I don't think both full-backs will do it. I think for us, I think it'll be Trent. I think for Arsenal, it was Zinchenko. And then it was probably the right-hand side for Manchester City, wasn't it? It was he didn't trust Walker doing it, did he? He ended up putting John Stones ended up coming excellent, in. Yeah. Or Rico Lewis, he gave him a little go at doing it. So I don't think it'll come from both sides. I think for Liverpool, it'll certainly be Trent who comes inside. I know he's probably had a look at Tsimikas to do it, and maybe Andy Robertson, he's probably asked him to have a little go. But if you're going to do that, you've got to, and this is where we say where you've got to work in pre-season with one another, and you've all got to sing off the same song sheet. You can't do that without the centre half knowing his job as well. You know, if he's too far over and Trent comes in, then that right hand side's too wide open and exposed. So, you know, you've got to know what you were doing. It's like for me when I was a wing back playing on the right, Mark Wright would come over and cover me. So you'd have to create an understanding with each other. You can't just do it. You know, you've got to speak to each other, you've got to talk to each other, you've got to get an understanding. So if you've got everyone doing it, it makes life a lot more difficult. If you just know it's coming from one side, then Konate, who I think covers really well because of his pace. You know, he covers Trent really, really well.
When you're in good possession of the ball or the football, you can do it. But when you're out of possession, for me, you have to get back into that left back position as quickly as possible to make it difficult. I mean, it was far too easy, like down that right hand side. You saw the room and the space that the fellow had to run into without any sort of challenge at all. So it has, as Jason rightly says, it has to be worked on. But I think it's more when you're in comfortable possession of the ball to gradually get like an extra midfield player in there, maybe one of your fullbacks. Then I think that's okay. But when you're defensive, like when you're not in possession, you've got to get back into that shape and make that, I think, a strong back four where there's no spaces and there's no gaps.
And to be honest, you don't want... who am I thinking of?
Tsimikas.
No. Virgil. Sorry, I've done a mental block there. Virgil's not the kind of player who wants to get out there either onto the flank. He wants to play in a more of a central area. He doesn't want to be getting dragged out there and taking, a winger on. He wants to stay in position, so it doesn't really suit that left-hand side of Liverpool's defence, whereas the right-hand side, it suits, obviously, Trent Alexander coming in, but also suits Konate with his pace to get out there. He's more willing to do it.
We mentioned Alexis McAllister earlier in the programme. We should also touch on the fact that Dominic Szoboszlai also made his debut in that first pre-season game. Much like McAllister, actually more ways than McAllister for me, I thought, as soon as I heard he was cut, I thought, makes total sense. Absolutely fits the way Jurgen will want to play and this team will want to operate. Gary, have you seen already what he might offer moving forward?
Well, he's quite a big, imposing kind of character. I think from an attacking point of view, he did most things pretty simple, to be quite honest with you. The distribution was decent. We didn't really see him try any sort of killer passes as such. But in saying that, you could see why Liverpool have signed him. He's a big individual. He'll work exceptionally hard in the middle of the park. His combination with the likes of Trent in there was pretty good as well. But I think all round you could see his quality. Did everything simple in this game. Didn't look under any pressure whatsoever. And as I say, when you see a midfield player that looks comfortable in possession, he's obviously doing something right.
Yeah, that's what you want, though, isn't it? McAllister's in there to get on the ball, and you give him the luxury of finding that killer pass because he can see it and he can deliver it. I'm not saying Szoboszlai can't do that, but you want the other two midfielders in there breaking things up, just giving it easy, giving it to the more expansive players, giving it to the more attacking-minded players. But yeah, he's got a physical presence. He's young. He can get about, and that's what being in that midfield's all about.
But his goal record is really good for midfield.
He's not prolific.
Good. No,
assisting goals. He's not prolific.
When you look at all his stats, like counter press, pressing, balls won in good areas of the pitch, goals to a certain extent as well, they all stack up, and you can understand why Liverpool have gone out and paid the money that they have.
It kind of brings it back to the point I made earlier in the show that it feels like we're a bit more offensive now moving forward. There are more goals from midfield collectively. We've more attacking options at the top end of the field. We're playing slightly higher up the pitch generally, I think, as a team. I'm drawing a lot of inferences from the last few games last season and 90 minutes in pre-season, but that seems to be the direction of travel.
Well, I think when you listen to me and him rant on, and we've done it for a few...
I've done it for 10 years.
Yeah. So, but we always say, teams have got to evolve. And, gone are the days where you had Mane, you had Salah, and you had Firmino, that, we had the industry in the middle of the park. We had Gini Wijnaldum, we had Henderson, we had James Milner, and really got in about it, won good balls in good areas of the pitch, and then gave it to the front three. And the front three, the goals returned from the front three was phenomenal. With Mane and Salah, and the ability that Firmino had to bring the best out in them. But now it's a little bit different, isn't it? It's changed. You don't have the likes of Sadio Mane. You don't have the likes... Well, you still got Salah, but you don't have Firmino. And Firmino for me was always key how Liverpool wanted to play, and that's why I think that position, whether Gakpo plays in there or whether McAllister plays in there, I think we've got that covered, and I think you could see us playing a little bit like more forward thinking, especially with the players that we've brought in as well.
Interesting to see how it progresses. Looking at the squad, we've also seen some youngsters get an opportunity, albeit there's perhaps been more of a weighting towards the senior players. Ben Doak's in from the off again today. He played the second half at the last game. A player with a lot of interest about him because of the way he plays. He's all action, he's quick, he's pacey, he troubles
good on the eye.
forward. Yeah, he's the kind of guy people will be drawn to. He's got something about him, Jason. He maybe has a chance, and again, a stage for him to show what he can do here.
Yeah, and play with the senior players. You know, they don't get a lot of minutes, do they? Because of, you know, where Liverpool are expected to win things each. You know, the gap now with Manchester City and the other teams. You know, you can only afford to lose a couple of games now, can't you, in the Premier League? Otherwise, it's gone. So it's about trusting your players, and you'd go for the more senior players. But you have to find somewhere minutes for these youngsters to get that experience, to want to know how to play, but also gain an understanding with the senior players if called upon. You know, again, he's one of them players, if he stays around, meaning doesn't go on loan, then he probably will get minutes in the early rounds of the cup games. But it's just so difficult. And, you know, you look at Liverpool's team, if we can keep everybody fit, you know, unfortunately his time's going to be limited. But our squad is one that will compete with the likes of Manchester City and, you know, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea. We will be there or thereabouts. The key is keeping everybody fit. 5
sub-appearances for Doak last season, a couple in the Premier League. He's probably another one who falls into the will he stay, will he go on loan category. But if you're looking for a player to come in, be positive, make an impact, and especially with the fact we've got Europa League rather than Champions League games this season, Gary, he's one who's maybe in that maybe column.
I think he'll stay. I don't think he'll go out on loan. I think what I like about him is he's positive. He's like kind of like an old-fashioned Scottish winger, like we don't see anymore in like modern day football. People that want to get the ball and run at people and take people on. Now that's great if he's doing that in the right areas of the pitch, which is obviously the final third. He's got to learn that defensive ability to get back and help as well and work in a defensive situation. But in saying that, he's exciting. He's got a little bit about him as well, and he's got that like little Celtic kind of grit as well. You saw there, like with the fella that pulled him back. He's certainly not the biggest guy in the world, but he'll stand up to most people. He's an exciting prospect, but that's what it is at this moment in time. We've seen a lot of exciting prospects come through the academy, and yeah, I think you've got to take your hat off to all the guys that are working at the academy. They're doing a tremendous job bringing through these young players.
Yeah, another exciting talent. Okay, we're just hearing from over in Germany that there are torrential storms that are impacting the kick-off time for this game. There'll be a short delay to kick-off. We'll keep you posted as our build-up continues. Now, we've got the Liverpool starting 11 for this afternoon's pre-season game. We'll head back over to Germany now and get the details on our opponents from pitchside with our man Peter McDowell.
Welcome back in some pretty testing conditions. Not often you see floodlights on for lunchtime games, but that's exactly what's happened in this part of Bavaria. The pitch is in immaculate condition, but lots of thunder and lightning in the last 15 minutes or so that have put a bit of a question mark over whether the warm-up and kick-off will take place on time. We'll update you on that as soon as we can, but no doubt about the opposition. They're a Bundesliga 2 team, like Karlsruhe were in the previous game. A respectable mid-table finish for them last season, but they're the youngest squad in that Bundesliga 2, and despite a brief foray in the top division, they have been in and around this level for quite a while now. But Jurgen Klopp is expecting a decent test. They're on game 6 of their pre-season and scored 24 goals along the way, and the manager will have pretty decent memories of the opposition as well. Knocked them out of a domestic semi-final when he was Dortmund manager, and telling me just before that he also scored against them as a player for Mainz as well. So should be a good game. Let's take a look at some of their players to look out for here. And in Branimir Hrgota, their captain, top scorer last season with 11 goals. He'll play at the tip of their midfield diamond, so one to look out for there. And rather like Liverpool, lots of their supply line, if you like, comes from the right-back position in Simon Asta, the player with most assists for them last season. Saberni, who scored 4 goals for them in pre-season already. They've also got a new signing amongst the substitutes today in Kalhan Golu, who will play at left-back when he comes on the pitch today. And Tim Lemperley is a loan signing from Cologne that starts the game here this afternoon. And also Robert Wagner, who's joined them for the season on loan from Freiburg as well, so it should be a little bit like home. Lots of rain so far, but Jurgen Klopp expecting decent opposition all the same here this afternoon.
OK, so that's how the hosts line up this afternoon's game. Let's head back over to the stadium now. Pete has been speaking as well to Jurgen Klopp.
Well, boss, this is the final game of this German camp now. You're pretty satisfied with how the other night went. What do you see, or what would you like to see improve in this game today?
Yeah, actually, it's a lot of things which we're working on. It's obviously in football, it's always the same things. It's about defense, about offense, it's about getting used to each other, getting used to different positions, formations, these kind of things. I would like to see the next steps. We had big tactical sessions with low intensity but highest concentration level. Last one yesterday. So, and of course, you want to see that the things fall in place eventually. That you realize the boys, how is it, get more and more used to the idea and more used to each other again. And that's what I want to see. But again, we play. First and foremost, what you need in these games always is to build up resilience, because you play a team. It starts, I think, in 1.5 weeks with the season or so, and decent level, championship level in Germany is good, and so we have to make sure that we just deny them as well with all the ideas we have. It's about how compact can we be, how together can we be, and how much. And what I like about the game today is. Okay, it's not cool that no supporters are here, but so I can hear the coaching of the boys to themselves, and I'm really curious about that, because that's super important. And yeah, let's see.
Dom is here, but he's left out as a precaution today. Not too serious. You're not overly worried about that?
No. He rolled his ankle slightly in training, but that's really nothing else. Everybody's super positive about it himself. First, and if we would have today a Premier League game or whatever, he could play. But so we don't take a risk, and we will see what we do with the Leicester game after travel, stuff like this. But for the Bayern game, we will be ready, definitely.
And just in terms of preparation for the players as well, we've seen how the intensity has come on this week. But is the plan for two separate teams again, for two different halves?
Yeah, we do that again. Probably for the last time. But we do that again. It's just that's the other part of it. When you now feel after 20-25 minutes in a game at home, getting intense, that's an interesting moment, because in training now, in a moment, we interrupt after 8 minutes, maybe 10, so there's always a break. You don't have that in games, but it's good for training, and then you need to get used to the intensity as well. So I want to see that as well, that we just can keep like 50 minutes consistently pretty high physical level, because that's obviously the basis for everything what we want to do, and that's why we change completely.
Good luck.
Come.
Yeah, interesting what he said at the top of that, Jason. He mentioned the fact that yesterday, really sort of low intensity but real tactical work that they've done. I think sometimes on the outside we forget about that part of it. We don't realise or don't appreciate how much time and effort goes into telling players where to be on the pitch, when to be there, and how to link up with teammates. And that's just as important as all the running you do in these pre-season games.
Yeah, I mentioned it before, didn't I, with Darwin Núñez. They weren't too happy, with not his performance, but how we went about things during a game over in Singapore last pre-season. They stayed out for nearly an hour afterwards, just working with him on the with the coaching staff, where to be, where the ball is, where players are, how to start the press. It's difficult when you come from another team, another manager's philosophy and tactics, and then to drop into a team that do something completely different. So it is about forming relationships with other players, with the team, and yeah, you could see the strength on which he's gone in the first two games, because he wants them to get that relationship going from the off. He wants to forge this relationship with everybody, and as a team and as individuals, knowing your job. But yeah, and that takes a lot of time on the training ground, and sometimes you can't get that fitness work in because it has to be low intensity, because you walk through things, don't you, when you're doing it like that. But today for me just seems it'll be a tough day today. I think there'll be a session after this game as well.
Well, this is what pre-season's about, isn't it? It's about getting your tactical kind of side light and your coaching side. This is where your coaches come to the fore, because come the start of the season, especially when you go into like European fixtures, you're playing weekend, midweek, weekend, you have no time really to like kind of like set your team out and work on certain things, because the games come like so fast and furious. So this is the time where like it kind of all gets done and gets all built up, and they'll work on set plays as well. So yeah, no surprise that like that's part and parcel of like the actual coaching and the actual training and the technical side of it.
Yeah, and there's probably quite a lot to tweak, because we've spoken about that shift. If we play with Trent or another stepping in from the right-hand side, what do the centre-halves do to compensate? How does the midfield adjust? How does that press work now with the new personnel that are in there? All these sort of things, this is when you hone them for that big kick-off at Chelsea in 3 weeks.
You create environments not just with the ball, it's without the ball. I mean, like Gary highlighted before, Tsimikas got caught out, when we were out of possession. It's a lot of that. A lot of their work is done without the ball, actually, meaning not in possession. It's like what happens when we lose it, who sets the press, who goes where, who does what, how high the line is, are they talking, and that's something else that we haven't really touched upon. When you think about we're possibly going to lose our captain, but we've also lost our vice captain that have been vital in the dressing room, but also very vocal on the pitch. I don't see many of them characters around the club anymore. You're probably looking at Virgil van Dijk.
He made reference to that, like the manager there, didn't he? With regards to like hearing like what the communication is and things like that. So.
Because you need a leader on the pitch.
Yeah, you've got Virgil, you've got Robbo, who's not shy in giving his opinion, but you'll need others. Dominic Szoboszlai, captained Hungary, a young age. He's used to being a figurehead.
He's walked into Liverpool's dressing room.
But that takes an adjustment period. So there will be others who'll need to come to the fore. I think Curtis Jones has touched a bit on that. He was a senior figure in the under-21s. You might want him to be a bit more vocal around the place, a player who knows Liverpool inside out. Yeah,
well, the philosophy and the ethos of the football club is not only built by the manager, but it's built by the players as well, isn't it? And when the manager walks out of that dressing room, he needs people in there who are vocal and talking to the players, not just when it's going well, but when it's going bad as well. And I think that's what was very valuable with the likes of James Milner, who I still think is a mistake letting him go. And if we lose Jordan Henderson now, which has come really out the blue, what you're going to do? Who is going to step up and who is going to keep that philosophy in the dressing room when the manager's not around? So you'd like to think it was Virgil, but are they the characters to do it? You've got to be a certain kind of character to carry that. To stand up in a Liverpool dressing room. I mean, his dressing room was full of them, weren't you? The majority were vocal. Now it's a different game. Now you need them kind of old school players in the dressing room to keep it going, and I don't know where that's going to come from.
But on James Milner, I think it's a case that the manager was desperate for him to stay. It wasn't a case that he wasn't.
No, I'm not suggesting it's not the manager. He wanted to stay. Yeah,
but I take the point, though. You are losing some big vocal figures who've been central to setting the standards all the way through the Jurgen Klopp era. But I guess this is the environment in which you pull those other voices out. Time away, get to know each other. People do step up in this environment. It's harder to do it through the course of the season. It is away together for 2-3 weeks.
Well, I think what you tend to find is we talk about involvement of players coming in and like the style and different styles. I think the involvement of like a team still relies on a lot of vocal players as well. I think you'll see Trent maybe come a little bit more to the fore on a vocal side of it. I think you'll see Andrew Robertson come to the fore a little bit more on the vocal side of it. And you mentioned Szoboszlai. I mean, when you think about it, he's Hungarian captain. Andrew Robertson's captain in his country. So, you have still got big figures in there. And I don't think there'll be too much of a problem with regards to that. I think maybe even Virgil van Dijk will come a little bit more to the fore, because I think he was a little bit reluctant maybe to like be that sort of character when the likes of Milner and Jordan Henderson were there. I think he was always one to just let them go ahead and do it. I think there's probably a little bit more responsibility on his shoulders as well this season.
It was mentioned earlier in the programme, 2 players who returned to the group are, of course, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, both returning after success at the Euros with England. We'll hear from both of them through the course of the show. First of all, though, it'll be hearing from Harvey Elliott, who a little bit earlier spoke to Pete.
And at the age of 20, to have been part of and around so many winning teams, winning trophies year on year, what does that do for that nature of almost becoming addictive then? Do you just want more of it, presumably?
Yeah, absolutely. Every season we want more. We want to win each and everything, and we can't settle for less. It's a top team with top players. I don't need to tell anyone that. Everyone can see it. So the bare minimum for us is to try and win everything, and that's what we're planning to do. That's what we're aiming to do each and every season. Obviously, some seasons we can't do it, but it's just how we bounce back. We can use that as motivation to come back stronger, and to use the down times and the sad times to push ourselves again, so we don't revisit them, and just keep going on and keep being a team and keep pushing on. Hopefully, we can keep winning things.
Is that a motivating factor? It's something that the manager's talked about a lot, isn't it? That you can't buy maturity. Sometimes the disappointments make you stronger as well. Is that the feeling that you get as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole team gets it as well. Coming off the back of last season, you can see how everyone was disappointed, missing out on Champions League. This season we had the Europa League, so we just got to make sure we go out and apply ourselves the best that we can, and hopefully go and win that. Obviously got the Premier League as well, FA Cup, Carabao Cups and stuff like that. So for us, there's always competitions lying around. It's just about us making sure we go out and, as I said, apply ourselves properly, making sure we haven't got another thought in our head other than winning this competition or winning the league, for example. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be given to us, and I think the boys, the way they've been so far since me coming back, it's been unbelievable. Training's been great, the intensity's been great, and you can see everyone's firing and ready to go.
I think you first came into a training camp when you were 16, at the age of 20 now. What feeling did you get when you walked in with Curtis this week as to what the mood was like, what the atmosphere was like, and how much everybody's looking forward to another challenge?
Yeah, you can see everyone was ready to go, which they have been every pre-season. But this one, I think, just feels that extra little bit special, extra little bit more intense, and you can see it in the boys' faces. They look ready and as I said, firing to go. So, be interesting to see, how we do this season. Hopefully, we can improve as a team, as people as well, and make the most of it, and hopefully achieve a lot of things.
And in that midfield, it's going to be so competitive now, isn't it? You've got two, not only brilliant signings, but two that you can learn from as well individually. Absolutely.
It's positive competition. We're all going to be there to try and take each other's places. But if one of us don't play and the other does, we're a team, and we're here to support them as much as possible. And I'm sure they will be with us as well. So yeah, it's just about taking the chances when they come, making sure you apply yourself in training and in the games, and run your socks off, as everyone likes to say, which is what we need to do as a team. But as I said, it's positive competition, which is great, and they're great lads from what I've met so far, and obviously great players as well. There's no doubt about that. So it'll be exciting to see how they do this season. Hopefully they can do well.
And just finally, 51 appearances last year. Knowing what you're like, you set such high standards for yourself. I mean, any 20-year-old playing for a club as big as this would be probably delighted with that, but I'm sure you set yourself even bigger targets now for this season.
Yeah, definitely. It's just about kicking on now. It's going to be another massive season for myself and for the team. So, last season was a great opportunity, and I learned a lot last season. Although we didn't do too well as a team, but for myself personally, it was great. I'm very confident going into the season and taking a lot from last and putting it into myself and into my game to smooth out the mistakes that I made last year. I just feel, as I said, confident and ready to go, and I'm just so excited to get started.
Okay, an update for you from over in Germany. The good news is the players are out on the pitch for their pre-match warm-up. So, fingers crossed, play is not too far away. Of course, it's a ever-changing landscape, so we might have a delay further yet, but the signs at the moment are looking good. Of course, we were saying that yesterday for the test match at Old Trafford, and we didn't get any play. Let's hope we don't get that situation here. And let's hope we don't have to fill about 12 hours as well. That could be quite a lengthy show. In terms of what we just heard, we heard from Harvey Elliott, the big season for him last season. He played in 32 of the Premier League matches in some capacity. I started most of those games actually as well. A player that has real faith from the manager. The manager really likes what he can bring. But I guess there's that question mark still about where you play him, given the changes in personnel, the changes in system. Where's his best spot in the team?
Well, that's the dilemma that, not just Jurgen has, but like obviously Harvey Elliott has as well. I think him and Curtis Jones will be looking and thinking, well, they've bought two midfield players in. We've obviously lost a few with the likes of the ones that went out earlier on, and it looks like obviously the couple that are going to go. So I think he's still got quite a bit to do, Harvey Elliott. I like him. He always speaks exceptionally well in interviews. I think that's maybe the modern day way, isn't it, when they get media training? But you've got to back up that with like performances on the pitch, and you know, he is highly thought of with the manager and the coaching staff. I think you've heard Pep talk about him on a regular basis, how influential he has been and he is. But he's still got to do a little bit more to be that regular starter in the team. I think last season he possibly got in a lot of the times because of like injuries and a lot maybe a drop in form from other people, but certainly a key figure in the squad.
Yeah, a really important player within the group.
Yeah.
But again, there's that question mark. But you know, work ethic tremendous last year, attitude tremendous, ability. There's no question he's got ability. It's just carving out a role for himself. Or if he wants to have a more week in without role, there's definitely going to be a role for him, but where he can force himself into that starting 11 perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know whether physically it kind of caught up with him a little bit. I think the pressure and the stress of everything that was going on at the club and the performances and how the season was panning out, I think maybe took a little bit of toll on him. You know, a little bit of pressure was on him there to maybe perform. We looked at him, didn't we, to kind of open things up, and it kind of just didn't really happen for him. But yeah, I mean, he's like you just said there, and Gary just mentioned, he's got bags of potential, still bags of ability. You know, he can chip in with a goal, he can see a pass, his attitude's great. Like Gary said, he speaks really well in front of the media, so he's got it all going on for him. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how much involvement he has. Of course, he'll have involvement like Curtis Jones, but you know, we were just watching the VT there. We couldn't pick our midfield, could we? Because we still don't know what's going on until that first game of the season. You know what you've got to pick from remains to be seen, but he'll certainly be used this season as Curtis Jones will.
I think you look at like Curtis Jones and like Harvey Elliott, and you know, we talk about this modern day game is based an awful lot on stats. Now, what did they do well? You know, where did they struggle? What's their weak points? What's their strengths? Now, I'm not 100% sure where it all stacks up for like Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott. Do they score goals? Well, not on a regular basis. Are they a presence in the middle of the park? On certain occasions they are. Work rate, yes, but do they win balls in good areas of the pitch? Do they close people down? I'm not 100% sure exactly where they kind of fit in with the stats. You know, we talk about Mohamed Salah, and Mohamed Salah probably gives the ball away more than any other Liverpool player that like I watch on a regular basis. But
he gives you 40 goals.
Yeah, but he makes more assists than most, and certainly scores more goals than everybody else. So, you know, there you go. That's the kind of like thing they're battling against. So I think it's a big opportunity for them. Start of the season, it's whether again that they can step up and be a regular starting.
Muchness, aren't they? They're both in there to create. You know, and like Gary said, you know, they're not. You're not really reaching 15 goals a season from the two of them. So when you look at them, you think, you know, am I going to play him as a regular? Is he going to get me that 15 goals a season? What am I going to get from him? You know, McAllister's come in. He's going to get you double figures. He's going to find that pass. He's going to get you probably 10, 12 assists as well. Do I look at Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones being in the same brackets as McAllister? No, and he's the player that's probably now in their position. So they are going to get game time. They will be rotated and they will play and will feature. But am I looking at them as being regulars, you know, for 35 games, 40 games, 45 games, you know, that Liverpool could play up to 50? You know, no, he's not that. They're not that kind of player.
What I would say on Curtis Jones, though, at the back end of the season, he had that best run of form, a little purple patch. He did score some goals, and then he went to the Euros and was a pivotal figure
key figure
for England, and played centrally for England as well.
Curtis has got to believe in himself more. Curtis has got to believe in his own ability and his quality, because for me he's got more to offer, Curtis. And I think once the penny drops that, you know, he doesn't have to do everything safe. You know, he can get on the ball and he can give it away in certain areas by trying things, then he'll be okay. For me, he gets on, he wants to be safe, he doesn't want to give it away. you know, you're in the team because of what got you in the team, and what got him in the team was, you know, his early on career where he was playing in the 21s and stuff. He was bending balls into the top corner and assists and getting double figures for the 21s. They're the kind of performance we want to see in the first team. He's got it in there. He's just got to drag it out of himself. And I think it will come. I think he's been given the opportunity. The manager likes him. I think he's liked around the football club. He's a local lad as well, so he's got the crowds back in. He's just got to believe in himself a little bit more.
OK, well, an update from over in Germany. We're being told that kick-off is now penciled in for 12:15. Now, that could change. It is a fluid situation, but as it stands, kick-off is, what, just over 15 minutes
What is it? Is
away.
it thunder and lightning?
Rain, rain, rain.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Is that why it's a fluid situation?
Exactly.
Rain, a bit of rain.
Not a bit of rain, a lot of rain.
Right, thunder and lightning I can go with, but not a bit of rain.
What? I'm being told there is a bit of thunder. Is that enough?
Well, there you go. That's when it gets dangerous, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah. That's it. Well, you know, back in your day, you'd have played
The
3 foot of
hoot
water.
is going off, and like the
Playing anything goes. They just used to throw us out.
There we
Go on, out you go.
Wish I could throw you out. OK, let's head back over to Germany and get more from Pete, who's on the ground, and perhaps we'll be able to shed a little bit more light on the picture there.
Well, welcome back. The rain has abated, and as you can see, the players are preparing for the final friendly of this German training camp, and it has been a really good 9 days in truth. Lots of talking between the manager and the players, lots of shape that they've concentrated on really intently for the past couple of days, and lots of Jurgen Klopp's voice. He is obviously aware that lots of the system that they employed towards the back part of last season really worked, but also working on the things that didn't. So real collective responsibility on how they defend as a team, how quickly they win the ball back, and certainly with those new signings with Dominic Szoboszlai and also Alexis McAllister, they have the energy that they need now to attack the season, and also that killer instinct of McAllister as well. You already have to talk to some of the senior players as to what kind of impact both of those have had on those sessions to understand how much optimism there is about this brand new campaign. And of course the coaches can't do that on their own. They have also noticed how much energy and how much optimism the players returned with this season, that they want to right the wrongs of a campaign that they really want to put behind them as well. You also get the feeling in this part of the world that Liverpool will be back. The facilities were brilliant. The pitch, a bit like here today, in fantastic nick. So this might not be the only time they play opposition like this in this part of the world, maybe this time next year. One player that has returned in the past few days that has given everybody a lift, not just with his abilities, but also his personality, is Curtis Jones, and he said he couldn't wait to get back to his teammates again.
It's amazing. I couldn't wait, actually. A few of the lads had said about, yeah, you know, your break was only small, but I was fine. You know, I had a good run at the end of the season. I then went away with England. I'd done well there, so now I'm back. I can't wait to get started.
Congratulations on the Euros win. Is that one of your career highlights so far, having played such a big role for England as well?
Yeah, definitely, of course. You know, I've already spoke about the time when I first went. I think I was 19, and we didn't get out of the group. So I know what it's like to go there and not do well. So you know, the aim was to go there and put down a mark and to get around the lads who it's the first time there. But in all fairness, you know, the team was unbelievable. We done well. We didn't even concede the goal. So yeah, happy days.
Now you're back with Liverpool, is it just a case of picking up from where you left off, basically?
Yeah, definitely. You know, at the back end of the season, I had a great run of games. I think it was 11 on the spin or something. Grabbed a few goals, I had me assist and stuff, and my confidence was high. At the beginning of the season, it was a tough time. I was out for just 15 weeks, I think it was. It was an ongoing thing. It was a hard time. So, yeah, and then I came in the team and I changed it all around. So, yeah, I want to just carry on that.
Just sitting here now, looking back to last pre-season, for example, how improved do you think you are as a player? I think the manager's highlighted your counter-pressing and decision-making.
Massively, and I think them ones there, yeah, are huge. I was always a young kid who came around a team, and my head was always just on goals and assists, and picking up the ball and just having the ball and that. And then I came around the team and I seen there's more to the game. And then I understood what I had to do to then keep me shirt and what the staff needed from me as a player, and inside there. So number 8. So yeah, my counter pressing that was huge, and how fast I moved the ball. as well. And then at the back end of the season there, with the games that I'd played, you could see now when I'm starting to find me goals again and assist as well.
Did you learn to love that graft just as much as you would of scoring goals and assisting when you were in the academy?
Yeah, well, funny enough, it's mad because I'd always came around a team, and the lactate test I was always in like the top 3, so I could always run, but I just had a thing in me head, it's like running back to your own goal just always felt a little bit harder. But now it's part of my game, and it just, you know, it just clicks. You know, if I'm on the ball and give away the ball, the first thought in my head is be the first one to go and get the ball back.
Just on this season then, what are your targets and objectives yourself?
Normally, you know, I'd sit there and say I want this amount of goals and this amount of assists, but I think the biggest thing now is going in the team and showing the real me, and just, you know, and just putting a run of games again together where, you know, I'm consistently showing how much of a good player that I actually am. I've been around the team now since I was 18, and it's been up and down. Now I just wanted to go up, so that's what I'll aim to do.
And you've come in late, but you were speaking before, but you look like you're going to be ready for when the season starts. There's no resting on your laurels or anything?
No resting yet. I'm ready, definitely. I couldn't wait to get back. You know, I was seeing the lads training stuff, you know, on the Instagram, and then I seen the game as well, and I just couldn't wait to be part of the team again, and to get around the team and the staff, and to go and play that first game.
It's funny, the back end of the season, Gary, he played like a player who'd learnt a bit, thought about things a bit more, grown up a little bit. He just spoke like a player who's grown up a little bit.
Well, the one thing that I latched onto there is move the ball quicker, pass the ball quicker. In my opinion, that's what he needs to do more often. He needs to have a better picture of the game in his mind before he actually receives the ball. I think we've seen towards the back end, he played an awful lot of games. He fulfilled that role on the left-hand side. He did exceptionally well. But I still think that if you look like Thiago, and at this moment in time you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold in that middle of that part. Now, Trent Alexander-Arnold is not the quickest player, but he makes time and space for himself because he has a vision before the ball comes to him, and he'll make these forward passes, and he'll make a first-time pass. I never see Curtis Jones make first-time passes, or very rarely, because he doesn't have a picture in his mind before the ball comes to him, and hence the reason why he has to take 1, 2, maybe even 3 touches. Now, in modern-day football, well, not even modern-day football, football at that level, 1, 2, 3 touches is too many to create an opening for like the players in front of him, to make assists for him. But I still think that he improved. From what I saw towards the end of last season, there was certainly improvement in his physical ability and his appetite for the game. He's had a hard time, in fairness, for the kid, like injury-wise, and some strange injuries as well. And I think he's found that a little bit tough mentally as well, coming back into the side. But since, you know, the end of last season, I think he's improved massively. And again, another young man that's got a big season ahead of him.
Yeah, I think what we saw the back end of last season, what we've heard then, what we saw for England during the Euros, it sort of whets the appetite for what he could bring this season, because the ability has always been there. Gentlemen, we will pause things just now. That's the build-up to Liverpool's second outing of the 23-24 pre-season campaign. Sorted. Gary is going to head over to the commentary booth now to join John Bradley, who'll guide you through all the action from over in Germany. And don't forget, Jason will be back with me at half-time to go over the best bits from the first half. After the break, we'll have Greuther Furth versus Liverpool live on LFC TV and LFC TV Go. It's the only place to see every game from the Reds pre-season campaign.
Towards Salah, and Nunez, and Salah's there! He scored on the opening day again, 6 in a row now. He has the run on goal, he has Akanji coming, and Salah's arriving. Who else? Mohamed Salah.
Can he find the pass? Diogo Jota, will he go on his own? Finds Salah.